Hello and welcome to another episode of PSYCH N SEX Sundays with Dr. Sonya Maya. That is me. Today I want to talk about 3 myths about kink because kink and BDSM are so stigmatized. That's why I know that this video is going to take a while to get views because just saying kink and BDSM is, that's just how the internet works. But I did just have a really amazing sexceptional weekend. A kinky sexceptional weekend with the Sexual Health Alliance where I learned a lot of really awesome things about kink and BDSM, and it reminded me of all the misconceptions that I want to debunk. And I have talked about a lot of these things before, but I want to talk about them again and focus on 3. And today is going to be a little bit of a shorter video because I almost didn't record. My car got stolen today, but I don't want to talk about it. But I didn't want to skip because I've been posting every Sunday. I've been keeping up that momentum. So thank you everyone who's been tuning in because it really means the world. Please make sure to like and subscribe and turn on bell notifications if you like this kind of content, given that these types of topics do get suppressed by the algorithms. Every like and subscribe means the world more than you know. So yes, people who are interested in kink and fetish, they are very often pathologized. Yes. And just so you know, there's a huge difference between things like masochism, which is liking humiliation or liking things that are painful, or more so seeking that really intense sensation. There's a difference between those types of likes and wants and self-harm. And I learned a lot more about that this weekend, which is really exciting. It's just really important that if you're going to get into kink and you're going to explore your, possible fetishes that you have, it does require a lot of self-awareness and making sure that you know what you're doing and what you're getting into before you play with yourself or play with a partner. According to a 2022 study, about 86% of the general population was still maintaining these stigmatizing beliefs about the kink population, which isn't surprising, but yeah, still to this day. Well, that's 2 years ago, but it's recent. And the results from the same study showed that those who participate in BDSM are more likely to be sensation seekers with more active coping skills. And many studies over the years have actually shown that those who participate in BDSM have higher rates of life satisfaction, psychological well-being, and better relationships, better communication, which we love. As I learned more about kink, I learned so much more about the importance of negotiation and consent and aftercare. But unfortunately, we're not taught how to have these conversations. And it's not enough to just tell somebody, oh, communicate better. It's like, okay, what does that mean? Like, how do we communicate better? So, communicate. Therapists and individuals love to say, yeah, you just got to work on communication. But what does that mean, especially when it comes to kink? And I'm going to put a link below to an amazing video on negotiation and how to negotiate. And it includes a woman named Midori, and she was the main person to run the seminar that I just participated in. She's an amazing sex educator, and she is one of the main individuals who runs the Kink Informed certification program through the Sexual Health Alliance. And she definitely knows what she's talking about. Her examples are very applicable and very relatable. So definitely check that out after this if you are looking to improve your communication, improve your ability to negotiate with your partner, even if it's not kink related, just like sex or intimacy related in general. It's just going to be helpful in general for any intimacy negotiation. Myth number 2 is that kink is always sexual. What you want to think about kink as is this. It is adult play. We all play as kids. Play is such a big part of being a kid. But then when we get to that developmental age of being older and we get smarter and then there's more things to worry about, we forget how to play. We don't play anymore. And it's so much harder to be in the moment because it's work, work, work. But no, we need to play as adults too. And it could be something as simple as, let me brush your hair while we talk. It doesn't have to be anything too intense, especially starting off. Kink is any friendly activity related to senses. Another way to think about how kink isn't always sexual, a lot of individuals who are asexual, they participate in BDSM. Individuals who are asexual, yes, they can have emotional connections, but they're less likely to be interested in sexual activity. They don't really want the genital play, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to be interested in kink and BDSM. A really cool quote from Midori that I love: BDSM is childhood joyous play with adult privilege and cool toys. A lot cooler toys, a lot cooler than Toys R Us. Oh my God. Do you guys remember Toys R Us? Yeah, the toys I have now, way better, way more fun. She was saying it's like cops and robbers, but with optional fucking. Emphasis on the optional. One example of a type of kink that isn't always sexual is pet play. So some individuals like to role play as dogs or puppies. So some people might actually like this because if you are playing as a puppy, then you are free from talking. You can be a good dog or a bad dog or, a lap puppy. Some people might want to be cherished by their play partner and they seek that physical affection, but they don't want to talk. They just want to be a lap dog, and it can totally be non-sexual. This is a little bit unrelated, but something else I learned from the seminar, which is really cool, was that sometimes using the term I'm a switch or just switch in general in the BDSM community, it might actually be a little bit harmful or maybe not so effective. I'm dominant and I am submissive, which is totally okay, but Midori was explaining that you want to think about kink more on a spectrum, and saying switch implies that this is more of a binary thing. And she was saying that, yeah, of course, you can be submissive and then want to dominate sometimes. You can be a dominant and want to submit sometimes too. So you want to check in each session. Before you have a scene with somebody, check in. Don't assume. Assuming makes an ass out of you and me, People used to always say that. That shit's so annoying, but I figured I'd bring it back. You want to check in, not assuming that everybody consistently wants the same role each time, because that could really change depending on the mood that you're in. Maybe you want to be submissive because you had a long day and you don't really feel like dominating. You just want just do things to me, that kind of thing. Myth number 3 is a huge one. It is a myth that kink is a result of sexual trauma. This has definitely been debunked by research. Sometimes it's assumed that individuals who are into kink might be motivated by past childhood trauma and abuse, and they're trying to reclaim themselves, that kind of thing. Of course, this can be true in some circumstances, but studies show that the prevalence of a history of trauma by kink participants is slightly lower than rates found in the general population. So there's actually less of an association there. It's not associated with people who are kinky. You're not more likely to have a trauma in your background just because you like kink. And Midori was discussing that this stigmatization of thinking that kinky individuals have been through trauma is very similar to how sex has been stigmatized in general. Like, it was, 100 years ago when women were pathologized and told that they had mental illness if they wanted sex. If they were sexy, horny, they called it nymphomania, and they would associate it with illness, even hysteria. They were making vibrators to treat hysteria, which was a fake diagnosis, and it was also associated with sexual behaviors because being a woman and having sexual desire, oh my god. So stigmatizing kink is pretty similar. I learned so much in the Kinky Sexceptional weekend with Sexual Health Alliance. It was so amazing. And if you're interested in exploring your kinky side, I say go right ahead. There's something that you can do. There is a website you could check out called FetLife, and it is a kinky website. It's kind of like the Facebook of kink. So you can use that, but use it with caution. So what they were saying in the seminar is that it's good for finding events and also going to munches. Munches are public events, like at bars, for example, where you can meet with other kinky people. It's a non-sexual atmosphere. And if you want to learn about kink, you're not going to want to learn from FetLife because it's not good for practical wisdom. There's a lot of people on FetLife that don't really know what they're doing. They're not very informed, but getting out there and meeting people in person and finding that community is going to be really important, and it's going to be a lot more effective than just scrolling through this, Facebook of kink. You also want to make sure that you proceed with caution. You want to make sure that you're not participating in a way that's going to harm yourself or harm others, obviously. So for example, if you want to pull someone's hair, know how to do it without causing injury. You don't want to do choking as a beginner. There's a lot of health issues that could result from blocking airway. People do die from autoerotic asphyxiation. It is rare, but it does happen. So you don't want to choke. I know that Jack Harlow says, what does he say? I'll choke you, but I ain't no killer baby. I'll choke you, but I ain't no killer baby. That song is so catchy, but yeah, a lot of people might be trying that choking thing and not knowing what they're doing. So just make sure that you know what you're doing if it's going to be anything to do with cutting off that airway. You also want to be careful on the torso because of the organs, you want to avoid joints, be careful with kneecaps, that kind of thing. So overall, just be careful. When it comes to kink in general, the more you learn about it, the more you will realize that if you're looking at the right research and you're talking to the right people, it is healthy and encouraged and not to be stigmatized. I really hope that you learned something new. As I said before, I do ask that you hit that like button, you hit that subscribe. When I talk about these types of things, I do get a little bit limited because, you know, YouTube daddy doesn't really like when I say kink and BDSM, but I'm not going to use the code words because, you know, I want you guys to find it. I want the people to be able to find it that are looking for this. And like I said, I did put some resources below and some studies backing up the research that I talked about in this video. And I will see you next week for another Psych and Sex Sundays with Dr. Sonya Maya. Bye.